you. Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you.
I'm trying to find a place to put that down.
Thank you for your fine comment. When Toastmasters launched Pathways, it certainly was a lot of changes to many people. Now, yesterday afternoon, I went through the Pathways program from kind of a global. How's it structured? How's it organized? What's in it? What's the content? Kind of the Google satellite view of Pathways. Today, we're going to look more closely. We're going to dig into it. We're going to look at windows. We're going to look at screens. More like the street view version of Pathways. We're going to get into it. So we're going to talk about how you actually use it. Anyone had trouble occasionally using Basecamp? No, I'm shocked. I found out, both in my district and the undistricted clubs, that the profile is about the same, that there's a certain percentage of people that are very technical. They not only have comments about what they don't like about it, but they even have suggestions about the software coding techniques to fix it. There's a group of people on the other side of it that really, really, really wish Toastmasters hadn't discovered computers. They don't like computers, they don't want to use computers, they have to call their niece or nephew or grandson every time to turn the computer on. I know I'm exaggerating, but there's some folks that just don't enjoy it. Everyone else is somewhere in between. The techies can help everyone else, and frankly, most everyone else, and again, I'm talking about my experience with 3,000 people in District 57, another 3,000 or 4,000 in the undistricted clubs, and I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with ambassadors and guides around the world. Once you learn the concepts, once you see how it works, it's doable. Now, we can all say, I'd like this thing to be different, or that thing to be different, or something else to be different, and you're right. I'm not going to argue with you, but it is what it is. By the way, there is an active project right now at headquarters to improve it. In typical headquarters style, they won't tell us what they're going to do to it, but I believe it'll be an improvement. So let's jump in. We're going to talk about how to use Basecamp. What's the hardest part of any project? Getting started. So what I'm going to do is cover the most common tasks that we do in Basecamp, and we're going to start with a new member wanting to select your path. So we're going to take it in steps. We're going to enter Pathways, we're going to select our path, we'll open up that path, we'll launch our first project, and then we'll see about submitting awards. Fair enough? And there'll be plenty of time at the end for questions. If you come up and try to hit me, don't, because it's not my fault the way Basecamp is. I'm the messenger. We're going to go into, for the first time in our first task, we're a new member, we're going to go select a path. What are we going to do? Everything starts on the Toastmaster homepage. You click on the Pathways button up there, and there are several things you can do, but what we want to do right now, we are goal-oriented. We want to pick our path the first time. So we're going to go over here to choose a path, and at some point it's going to ask us to log in. Did you know, by the way, before Pathways started, less than 10% of all members had ever logged in to the Toastmasters website? So never mind Basecamp, just having to log into the website was a shock to some people. You know how it went. All the officers were sharing the same login to go into Club Central. Yeah, now they got to be different. Anyway, you guys have to log in. If you've never logged in before, you can follow the instructions on the screen here, but you're going to log in. Why? Because Pathways is now keeping track of your progress online, unless you choose the hard copy. When you're logged in, you're going to get the screen for the first time. Now, there's great things on here. There's path selection, there's Basecamp Manager, there's Access My Path, and there's Navigator. We are goal-oriented folks right now. What we want to do is get our path. But there's good stuff going on here. By the way, anyone looked at Navigator? Anyone gotten the beta version of it to look at? They've completely redone Navigator, much, much more useful. Hasn't been launched yet, but it should be out pretty shortly. Choose your path. First thing we have to do is choose our path. Now remember, in the traditional program, it doesn't matter what the new member is interested in, what skills they want to acquire, what things they want to do, they are given the same manual. In Pathways, there's up to 10 different paths reflecting a focus on different skills they want to learn. Well, that's a good thing for most people, although there are the people that say, I hate it when you give me choices. just tell me. These are probably the folks that if you give them a box of mixed chocolate, they'd be paralyzed trying to figure out what to take. Me, I go for the caramel every time. So there's two ways to get your path. There's printed materials and online. Let's talk about printed materials for a little while. Very, very few people are picking printed materials, like less than 0.5%. And that's a mistake. Remember the folks we talked about early on that wish Toastmaster had never discovered computers? They don't want to do their pathways online. They're the people that ask the same questions over and over again. It's not their fault. They're just, them and computers just don't get along, or maybe just barely. Some of you techie folks may have even been guilty of this, guilting those members into going ahead and going online even though they didn't really want to. Don't do that, please. If a printed path is best for them, they should get a printed path. Order that manual, get the physical object, and read it. So let's all take a vow. We will not pressure anyone into going online, all right? No pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure. I'm making light of it, but this is a big part of the complaint with Pathways right now, is people that just really, it's just harder for them to do these online things, and they shouldn't have to, and they don't have to. So you can select a printed path. In that case, another member or an officer will walk them through it and get the path. However, it is true that right now, 99% of the people are picking online, and that's what I came to talk about. Now, nowhere on the screen does it say, select online choices. I've had people call and complain about that. It says, take your assessment. Reread that as, I want the online version. Let's do it. It's going to walk you through an assessment tool. This is a great tool. It's going to ask you a few questions. What are your main interests? For this one, I picked public speaking, change management, leadership. And then it's going to ask you a series of questions to refine that and try to get down at what you're actually the most interested in. This tool works fairly well. It works fairly well. According to Toastmaster stat, about 85% of members wind up picking the assessment, the recommendation the assessment gave. Now, you don't have to do this just one time. You can go through it again. You're not required to take the recommendation it gives you. You don't have to do that. In fact, when you go through the assessment, go back one. Go through these questions. Here's my recommendation. Don't overthink it. If you look at the question, you go deep in and say, well, maybe this, maybe that. Just go with your gut feel and just blast right through it, and then take it again, maybe with a little different shot. Probably you'll wind up with at least 2 out of the 3 paths will be the same, because you will have some area that you'd like to focus on. When you're finally done, it will recommend up to 3 different paths for you. Gives you a nice paragraph description of each one. As I said, 85% of the members who take the assessment do in fact wind up going with the recommendation that was selected. But let's say you're the kind of Toastmaster that really wants to understand your options. And you say, well, George, this is fine, but one paragraph just isn't enough for me to know what's in this path. I'm the kind of person that wants to actually see what projects I would do. You can do that. For more details. Now, when we launched the first district as a pilot on District 57 in February last year, there was no public information available. And so one of my Pathways guides put together a document where they collected up documents, and all these are really from Basecamp. Collected up a document and turned into one integrated, organized PDF with all the project descriptions, the list of every project required and elective, and even project summaries. You can get it on our website, d517.org Pathways. If you're on a smaller device, you may have to navigate a little bit. Pathways, Path, and Projects Catalog. At this point today, you can find several different districts and even a few clubs that have got something like this, some overview. This one is useful because it's compact, it's in one PDF. I also like the descriptions on the District 4 provides. Real original d4tm.org. They also have a very nice description of education. The point is, you have options. When you look at this, and let's just go a couple screens, it will show you all 10 paths. It will give you that same paragraph description. You click on any of the paths, and it will list for you all of the projects you would do if you take that path, both the required projects and what electives you have available to you if you go that way. Now you might even say, some of you are going to say, I can tell from the title of that project what would be involved. That's cool, I'm good. Some of you might say, no, what's that? So there actually is a project description, a summary, a one-pager summary of every description built in. These summaries come straight out of the tutorials and resources section of Basecamp. So this is all official material. So using this, or again, other districts' material, because other people have done the same thing, you can see exactly what projects you might do depending on the path you pick. Now we're going to talk some more about differences between paths. So I've just given you two ways to figure out what path you might want to take. The assessment tool, which generally is pretty accurate, works for most people, and up close and detailed. You think you can pick your path between those two methods, or both of them? Either way, we've now selected our path. Just a reminder, for new members, their new member fee when they join pays for one path, an online version of one path. If they want it in print form, they'll pay shipping, just like we've always paid shipping on our manuals. But you get your first one free. After that, you pay for them. So we have selected a path. Tell you what, let's go look and see what we got. Okay, back to the same screen. Choose your path, access the path, navigator. Now we've already chosen our path. We won't worry about that option anymore. We're going to access our path through Basecamp. Now on the screen, you get a choice of your club. About 5–6% of us are in more than one club. How many here are in more than 3 clubs? 3 or more?
I'm going to be in 3 once a charge.
All right, okay. Well, let's make it simple. How many are in more than one club? Oh my goodness, you're a bunch of overachievers. Only about 5 or 6% of us are actually in more than one club. But those of us that are, we get carried away, don't we? I'm in 4 right now. If you are in more than one club, you need to select the club that you're logging in as. Why? You are setting, for the moment, your home club. It doesn't matter for anything at all except when it comes time to finish off a level and submit an award. Up until then, it does not matter a bit. But you do need to select a club each time, and that is your home club until you change it. Just remember, home club, we're going to come back to it. Now, home club, for some of us, has a particular meaning. This is the club where we have our closest ties, or the one we've been in the longest, or where our most friends are. Basecamp don't care about that. Basecamp, because they've adapted commercial software, it needs to have you associate yourself with one club at a time. That's the only reason we're doing it. Once you log in, once you set that, you're going to log in as a member. Now you're going to come, you'll see the screen a lot. There's good stuff in all this: navigating Basecamp, my transcript, feedback, badges, evaluation. Today we've got time to talk about one of them. Where do you suppose our path is?
Education.
How about transcript?
Well, that's true too.
Education transcript, there's where it is. I get calls from people occasionally that says, I got to the screen, what do I do now? This button ought to be called My Paths and Projects, because they don't use the term transcript anywhere else in the system. What's up with that? I don't know. This isn't being recorded. Don't show it to headquarters. Now really, there's useful things here, but we are focused right now. We want to get to our project. So we, in fact, are going to click on transcript, but first we're going to click on check compatibility at the upper left. There's an oddity about learning management systems, of which Basecamp is one. Learning management systems tend to open new windows. When you bring up new material, it tends to open a new window. Now, your browser has been conditioned to think that when a website opens a new window, that's a pop-up and it must be evil, because of the practices of a lot of advertisers way back when. So it tends to kill off new windows. But you click on compatibility and it will tell you for the browser you're using right now whether you need to change any settings. Now all the major ones work. I use Chrome, Microsoft, and Firefox interchangeably. They all work just fine. But I did on Chrome, I did have to go in and say, don't block pop-ups from this website. Other than that, things were working just fine. Check that one first. If you don't, here's what you're going to has happen. You're going to click on the button that's supposed to open a project, and it looks like nothing happened. The screen blanks. The window came up, the browser killed it off. Okay. Occasionally, a window will come up behind other windows. You just got to go find the darn thing. Anyway, check compatibility first. And then you go on, we're going to click on Education Transcript. You only have to check compatibility once for each browser you're using. If you have one favorite browser and use that one all the time, just got to do this one time. Don't have to do it again. And then you will see the screen that's got our educational transcript. I took this screen capture when I had my first path, Innovative Planning. Now, if you click on the name of the path, by the way, I see some of you taking pictures. You're perfectly welcome to. You can also download this entire presentation from the District 57 website in the Pathways area. There's several of them there. Look for the TLI, the 2018 TLI presentation. It's very similar to this one. Anyway, if you click on the name of the path, it will show you some administrative info about this particular path and what you're in there. It doesn't give you anything useful. You want to click on Open Curriculum. Just keep that in mind. Always click on the red button, not on the name of the path of the project. I know these are basic, and some folks will just say, fine, big deal, no problem. But I've had calls from people that can't figure out what to do because a small obstacle stops them. Once they know what to do, they're okay. So all you, when you're done here, go back and help your members that are a little more internet challenged get past things like this, okay? Okay, we're going to open our curriculum. We've done it. We've entered pathways, we've selected a path, we've opened the path. Let's see what's in that project. This is the screen you get when you click on Open Curriculum. I grabbed this one again before I've done any project, showing 0% done. It's the Innovative Planning Project. It's got the 3 projects that are in level 1. Does everyone know that all level 1s have the same project? They're considered foundational skills. You need them no matter what path you're on. So you can help someone with level 1 even if you're on a different path because they're identical. So again, there we go. We got 3 projects. Let's get started. What do you say we do the icebreaker? What a good start. There it is. There's the icebreaker. Again, if you click on the name of the project, you'll get an administrative screen with some stuff about it, but it's not your project. Always click on the red button. You click on the button, it says activate, it turns itself into a launch button. You click on the launch button and bingo, you are in your first project. One note of caution. For some reason, I think related to older devices, whenever it opens a project window, it opens a little bit small. This corner's about up to here. What that does, it hides the navigation that's down here, and in the later screens here, there's a left and right navigation button. If you can't see that, it can be a little mystery. So the first thing you do, and yes, you have to do this every time you open a project, just pull that corner down. Pull that corner down and widen it so that you can see the navigation at the bottom, and then you'll see the right and left. I do not receive hardly any questions from people about navigating. Once they get into the project, they're good. It's very straightforward, good material, nicely written, video tutorials, all those kind of things. So if you can get someone to the point where they can open their project, I'd say generally they're going to be doing just fine from that point on. So we've now entered pathways, we've selected our path, we've opened the path, we've opened our project, and our member is now working on their project. After they finish that first project, they can go on to the next one. Let's see what else happens. Eventually, they're going to complete that level, and they want to be recognized for it. One of the things we talked about yesterday that Pathways deliberately does is give more recognition sooner, more often. So whereas on a traditional program, you don't get recognized in an official award until you complete the CC, 10 speeches, in Pathways, each time you get a level, there's 5 levels in Path. Each time you complete a level, you get recognition. Your award appears in the awards list. It's actually an award. So we're recognizing people for their efforts much more often and much sooner. This is a good thing, but we've got to get it submitted and into the system, don't we? So let's submit an award. So who does what? So the member, they did the project, they gave the speech. Now, we need to mark the project complete. Kept ahead of myself a little bit here. With a traditional book, you bring your manual, you give your speech, you give the manual to the VPE or whatever officer happens to be handy. They initial it in the back of the book, and you're good to go. It's recognized. We do it online in Pathways, except for the print folks. So we need to go tell the system that we completed that project. To do that, we're going to reopen the project in Basecamp. We've already shown how to get to our path and get to our project. We're not repeating that. And we're going to go to the screen where we can say, I'm done. We're going to go down at the very bottom. Remember I said we want to see the navigation part at the bottom available to us, because we're going to go to the bottom and we're going to pick Assess Your Skills After. Now, if you navigated through and did the whole project, you probably were left the last time you were in here right about there anyway. It remembers where you are. If not, we're going to go to it. Assess your skills after. Every project has to assess your skills before. You answer the questions and where you think you are on the skill level. And it has to assess your skills after. This is not for anyone else to check you. All you VPEs, you can't see this member stuff. This is for them. Presidents, you can't see it. District directors, you can't see it either. These screens are just for the member's own self-assessment, but it plays a separate role here. So it's going to ask about 6 numerical questions. Answer the questions, go through them all. On the last one, a submit button appears. The last question 6. You have to click on that submit on the last screen to mark the project done. We have to tell the online system the project has been done. Wouldn't it be creepy if it knew that we'd presented a project in the club? Ooh. It doesn't do that. If the member instead just clicks on the right arrow instead of the submit, you didn't mark it done. One of the most common questions we get is, I finished the project, I marked them all done, but I can't mark my level complete. You didn't do this step, or you thought you did, but you missed on the button somehow. So click on submit. If someone says it's not showing done, don't even ask to look at their screen. Just tell them to go back through here and click submit on the last question, okay? Really, I get this question a lot, and my guys do too. It would have been handy if this thing said something like, click here to mark this project complete, or hit that right arrow until he did that. I've sent headquarters that suggestion. We'll see what happens. But we're working with the system as it is, not the ideal system that each of us would design. It's going to then show you a little feedback screen, a little mini screen. This is your confirmation that you in fact did really mark it complete, because it's saying, here's what you said your skills were before, here's what your skills were after. And again, this is just for the member. Whoever marked this one was pretty uppity. They thought they were already as good as they could be on before. Really, this is for the member's own help. So at this point, you've marked the project complete. The member's gone on through the different projects in the level. And now we've come to a level complete. We've done all the projects in a level, and we want to mark that complete. How does that work? We're going to run the level completion task. It's a button for us to click in our path. Let's see how that looks. So here's a member in the motivational strategies path, and they have completed all of the projects, and the system recognizes they've completed all the projects. How can we tell from the screen that they've completed them all? The check marks. Yeah. If they don't have all the check marks, if they claim they've done it, refer to the previous thing that says go back into that project, run through the assess my skills after, and click the submit button. You think I'm overemphasizing, but this really comes up a lot. Having done that, we can now, the very bottom line, the project in every level is level completion, where you say, the member says, I completed this level, I want an approval. Again, it's going to say level 1 completion, or level 2 completion, level 3 completion. If you click on the words, the title, you'll get a little administrative screen that's of no use whatsoever. Always click on the red button. If you do, it's going to bring up a very simple screen that just reviews the procedure you're going to follow. And then that activate button is going to turn into a mark complete button. We're going to click on that puppy, and we have now finished our level. Yay! What happens next?
We got to wait on the Basecamp manager.
Now you need your VPE or the other Basecamp managers. As you just heard at the beginning of it, there's 3 of your officers that are Basecamp managers. The VPE, who's considered the primary Basecamp manager, as well as the president and the secretary. No, it's not configurable. I wish it was. But among those 3 people, surely someone will be in town and be willing to mark it off for you. You need to notify your VP and your Basecamp. I'm talking the member needs to notify them. Let's take just a moment and talk about notifications. When you clicked on that mark complete, the system sent an email to, you'd like to say it was a VP, it sent an email to the club that said, I marked this complete, I'm requesting an approval. Where does that go? Unless you've changed it, that goes to your public Find a Club email address. Why they chose that, I don't know. I suspect they did some analysis and decided that was the only email address that was most likely to be in most clubs, because not everyone publishes their addresses. That's not so great. If you are, so what you need to do I'm going to stop and give you a little best practices here. If you'd like those emails, those completion emails, to go to the Basecamp managers, what you need to do is to change your contact address, the one you advertise in Find a Club. You change it in Club Central. You need to change it so that the president, VPE, and secretary will receive the messages. If your club is using Free Toast Toast, how many of your clubs are using Free Toast Toast? I just ran the analysis this morning. 100 clubs in District 50 do use Free Toast Toast. If you use Free Toast Toast, they programmed in a nifty little thing where you get to set the contact people. You know, if someone clicks on email the club, you know, normally it goes to whoever you set, membership, PR, whoever it is. If this message comes in from Basecamp, it redirects it to the president, VPE, and secretary. It's perfect. It's as good as you get. The procedure for doing that, I wrote that up in a little script. It's on that same District 57 Pathways page I told you about earlier. If you're not a Free Toast Toast club, there's other ways to get an email to go to multiple locations, or you can just have multiple people listed. But no matter what method you use, I recommend best practices that when the member clicks on that request approval, they just let the VPE know directly. Talk to them in the meeting. Give them a call. Text them. Send them an email. Even if you got your email set up correctly, has anyone ever had an email message go missing? Yes. Just barely. Now, that's different from someone saying, well, I never got your email. Never got your email. None of these methods are reliable. Best practice, the member should just let the VPE know, hey, I just approved this level, can you go ahead and approve it? Very simple. Why do we want to do that? We want to do that quickly because the member is stuck in that level until it's approved. Probably one of the most controversial aspects of Pathways is staff believes quite strongly that we need to do our projects in order. They're not happy. They discovered somehow that some of us have done projects out of order in a manual. I don't know who would do that. Who would do project out of order? So this is their attempt to enforce on us a little more discipline. In any case, somehow the VPE is going to find out. I want to talk about the home club issues. No, I didn't. Those of you in more than one club, if you're a VPE, and you're going to go check and see if you need to approve someone, and one of your members isn't showing up. If they're in more than one club, and they currently in Basecamp have their home club set to a different club, you can't see them. So, best practice again is when you are going to go in and mark your level complete, log in as a home club corresponding to the VPE that you want to approve your level, and then don't change your home club again until they've approved it. Got that? Yes. If you remember that, it's really going to simplify both your life and the members. So now the Basecamp manager can go in and mark the member's level as approved. You might even go in to VPEs and check it every few days just in case. It's very simple. When you are a Basecamp manager and you log in, you get slightly different screens. You have an option to log in as a Basecamp manager. Let's do that. Now, I want to mark complete any request my members have got. What button do you think I ought to push? Yay! This one's clear and straightforward. It's very clear and straightforward. A VP can log in, check this, and get out in a minute or two. It's very easy and quick. We're going to click on Pending Request. And when we do, we're then going to see a list of all the people who have got a request pending. They've marked their level complete. They're asking you to approve it. Now, what's this approval business? Remember we said that in a manual, we do our approvals one project at a time. You bring your manual in, you give the speech, someone initials it, it's done. You don't have quite that same structure. We still have evaluation, so all that still works the same. But we're still giving the VPE, excuse me, a chance to say, yes, the member completed that. Now, I've got a special note for you VPEs that think you're the king of the world. You don't get to say whether you thought they met their objectives. You don't get to say whether they did the job as well as you would have done it if you'd done it. Toastmasters is not a pass-fail organization. This has not changed. It's been true since 1924, true today. All you're saying is, yes, I know they did the project. They stood up and attempted it. That's what you're approving. Yes, I know they attempted the project. That's all you're saying. But we need to give them a chance. I've had a couple of members in my clubs that were so spacey and flaky that you couldn't figure out for sure sometimes whether they'd done the project or not. Anyway, normally you're going to either click on the green check mark. Yeah, quick question.
I've noticed we've had some members that have some confusion on the evaluation and feedback project in level 1. They don't realize there are 3 parts to it. So that's a good point to double check.
Right,
make
yeah.
sure they've done that.
Yeah. Anyway, so you'll click on this. Normally you're going to click accept, but the deny is there for those unusual cases where you really do need to say, hey, you forgot one part. Once you've done that, you've marked the members approved. The member can now proceed to the next level. If you want to meet an unhappy, frustrated, and angry member, just sit on that approval for a couple of weeks. I guarantee it'll change your attitude about personal interactions. So approve them quickly. Again, this is an area that staff has got some intentions. It may well work out, but we're going through the transition right now and it feels kind of funny to us. Now, any officer can submit the award. Approving the level does not submit the award. Say after me, does not submit the award. Why is that? It's because it's still up to the member to choose what club and when is credited for that award. And it doesn't need to be the one that approved the level. So just between you and me, I'm saying you can still sandbag your awards. Nothing's changed there. It's still the choice of the member. A little delayed reaction on that one. It's still the choice of the member. I'm in 4 clubs. I don't know about you, but I'll submit, I finish all the projects and I'll wait around until April or May to see which of my clubs actually needs the DCP goal. There's nothing wrong with that. That is completely legit and legal, even though some VPs don't think so.
George, that's really, really important that when you approve a level, don't automatically submit it.
Thank you.
Do not automatically submit it.
She said, what she said is when you approve a level, do not go ahead and submit the award because the member may be one of those George kind of people that says, I haven't decided who gets this award yet. That's fair and it's legal. All right, so any officer can submit the award. The process is very, very much like submitting any of the other awards. Just go down a different path. Neat thing, you don't have to put in the titles of the speeches anymore. Yeah, that's nice. So we've now come to the end of my prepared remarks. Are there any questions I can help you with? Way back in the back.
When you were talking about navigation, so the minimize or maximize screens don't work in that window. You were saying to drag
Say it again.
when you're talking about the navigation
Uh-huh.
within the browsers, the minimize and maximize, or the maximize button does not work in that scenario?
The maximize button works absolutely fine. I'm just giving you my favorite technique. I like to have lots of windows on the screen. I just drag that corner down a little bit so I can fully see the project, but I can look at other ones. But maximize works great.
So when you click on that window, it doesn't automatically maximize, or when that window pops up?
If you click on the maximize control, it will work.
Okay.
But it's just, the problem is, because the software is shared from a common commercial base, they open the window a little smaller than what Toastmasters projects want. For some reason, they haven't fixed it. But it's a simple thing. Either maximize, as you said, make the window a little bit bigger. There's other techniques too. Yeah, right here.
I wanted to go back to that last thing you said about the award not being submitted and you go back and submit it after. Is there some kind of a dashboard you can look at to see things that have been completed but not submitted as an award, or you just have to keep up with that?
Question is, can a VPE see awards that have been completed or levels that have been completed but not submitted? No. There is an entire section I didn't touch on because there wasn't time today, where you can see some progress on your members. You can see where they are in the levels and so forth. But there's, so go explore that. Yeah, right there.
Okay, I'm George, and now I am here, I'm ready, I've got 5 awards to submit. How do I submit, or say I want this club to have this award, and this club, how do I do that?
Great questions. Question is, you're one of these crazy people in multiple clubs and you're really active and you've got several awards. What do? Exactly like you do it in the traditional program. You contact the VPE and say, hey, I've got a presentation mastery level 2 for you. Please go ahead and submit it.
So of that club, of the club that you want to submit, that's who I...
Exactly like the traditional program. You contact the VPE and the club that's going to get the award. Now, as a matter of good practice, if you've got like a level 1, 2, and 3 stacked up, tell someone about the level 1 and then about the level 2 and then about the level 3. I think Club Central gets a little touchy about submitting awards out of order. They're that way. All right, another question. Other questions?
But it was a kind of similar to the Basecamp manager, which I don't know if you'll have the ability to answer it or not. When I'm a Basecamp manager and I log in, I can see my screen and I see all the paths that are in progress, but I don't see who those paths belong to. And so that's confusing to me.
You're talking about in the area, the VPE, where you're looking at the member?
Logged in as the
It's a little limited. Yeah, the member and club progress is a little limited. I think there is a way you can search on a single member and click on them and look them up and see where they are, but it is not as strong a set of...
I would assume, I see the little bar, and I would think like if I hover over it, I would see the name that belongs to that bar, but it doesn't seem...
I know, in some ways...
That's what I'm missing.
Here, stand up and tell everyone that. Stand up and tell everyone that.
I had the same problem. That box has two, there's a box way over the right that shows the progress. And then you go into the box, and there's another place that you can hit on. And then it will...
How much more time do we have?
15 minutes.
That is what I was missing. So I was like, how do I know which pod belongs to who?
Okay. All right, let's move it. Let's move along then.
The member name in the search.
Yeah, that's what
And that will give you the complete information of each member.
Yeah.
Okay, more questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? Oh, well, there you go.
So you recommended that if a member wanted to do the printed material, that you do that. But then you said, when you click on taking the assessment, then you're in the online program. How do you take the assessment online? How do you get back to ordering printed material?
I'm sorry, you want to buy the printed material?
Right.
If you have chosen to buy printed material, here's what Toastmasters did. They assumed that if you wanted the printed material, you must be someone who does not have or cannot cope with the internet. So you need to get someone else in your club to sit down next to you and they walk through the assessment for you. Or you use the other resources that I showed you. Now remember, there is one option I didn't mention, which is you can take the online choice and then for each project you get, you can print that out. Okay, it's different than having a printed manual, but you can print that out. Okay, yeah.
So I think to Joe's question, if you don't have the computer and you don't want to take the online assessment, is there some way to get printed material?
As I just said, you work with another member of your club and they order it for you.
There you go. But you don't necessarily have to take the assessment. You could order it.
No, you can order it. I believe there's always the fallback of calling and emailing Toastmasters, but it's not like the traditional manuals where you can call them up and say, I want to order 8 copies of the CC. I want to offer a copy of all pads. It doesn't work that way because they are always associated with a member. Right. But yes, you can have another member do it. In the back there.
I have gone into Pathways and had problems accessing the screen that lets you walk all the way through the project. Let's say, for example, I went in the other day and I accessed it. I felt like I looked up on it, but I couldn't look at all of it, so I closed it. And then when I went back, I couldn't open it again. Is there something that says once you open this, you can't go back and see it again?
If you can't open a project window, are you talking about a project window? If you can't open a project window, there's one of two things that's happening. Either you still need to fiddle with your browser settings to where it doesn't kill off windows, or in some cases, and I don't know the circumstance exactly, it will open the window, but it will open behind other windows and you've got to go hunt it down. But there's nothing that blocks you. You can open the same project over and over and over again, but there may be a little troubleshooting you have to do to find out what happened to it.
Second question, when you finish your project, you still see launch over there. So that's confusing because I'm like, why is it still saying launch? Because I'm done with that. Is that because?
Question is, I finished the project, it still says launch. This is a feature, not a bug. Here's why. Toastmasters says you can go look at that project again as many times as you want to. So they do not lock you out of that project because you finished it. Suppose you're at a club where you're all, I'm not going to say perfectionists, but you're all really aspire to the best you can be, and you get feedback in your evaluation that says, you know, you had some challenges here. You don't have to go back and do it, but some members would like to go back and do it. That's why that launch button remains, just so you can open again as often as you want to. Right here.
Or you could be mentoring somebody and you want to be able to see what they're...
Absolutely, yes. You might be mentoring someone else, you want to see what they can see. Let's mention one other thing about that. The Basecamp system tries to enforce us all going in sequence, level by level. But it's kind of like not even a secret anymore that as soon as someone in the club that gets up past those levels, they can see a lot of the projects. They can open up the full project. So if you're mentoring someone and they're a different path, you can't see their required project necessarily, but if you've got past two or past that level, you can open up their electives. You can see most of them. Some clubs, I did not say this, headquarters, don't listen, save those projects so that anyone in the club has access for mentoring or other purposes to do that. More questions? Let's
When
get.
you get to electives, I haven't seen some.
So someone else, well, I'll come back to you. Someone else got a question? Well, no one else does, so go ahead.
I was just asking, when do you actually get to electives? And someone said after level 3.
Yes. Level 1 is fixed. It's the same for everyone. Level 2 is fixed. They're different paths. Level 3 is where you get electives. There's like 8, 9, 10 of them. 3, 4, and 5 all have electives. They all have some required and some electives. And some of those electives are going to look real familiar. How about vocal variety? Yeah, they're all there. More questions? My goodness, we're out of questions?
If you got one member in your club, and they're only in one club, and they finish an award, then you should be able to just go ahead and submit it, and not hold it.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
If they only belong to one club, and they finish an award, shouldn't you just go ahead and submit that?
No, it's the member's choice.
Member's choice.
Member's choice. Say this over and over. The member gets to choose when and where they submit an award. The VPE, you do not own that award. That is not yours to submit, and this has been true for the traditional system as well as this one. This is something that has not changed. And if you as VPEs, I'm on a soapbox here, if you as VPEs think that you're going to submit an award the member didn't ask for, think again. Think again. You are outside your bounds. Okay? You don't get to decide when their awards go in.
It's actually a wonderful opportunity to talk to the member and explain how putting that award into the system for the club helps the club. Then they realize not only are they doing this for themselves, they're helping the club in this way. It could be that they're thinking about joining another club, and hence this situation is...
Someone who's only in one club probably wants to go ahead and submit it. They probably want the recognition, and that's great. But it's their choice, and of course, if they're in more than one club, you don't know what their plans are.
But that's not something they designate through the system, is it?
Well, again, this is an aggressive VPE might say, I'm going to submit the award because I want it for my club. Even though the member didn't ask for it, I'm sure they meant for me to submit the award. No, they didn't mean for to submit the award. Yes, right back there.
That's why you said it earlier. That's why just because you approve it, you don't submit the award.
Right,
Because
yeah.
I really didn't hear it exactly, that was gonna be a question, but I don't have to ask that now, but, so you just talk to the member first before you submit the award? You just make sure that they're doing it in this club and all that? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, you got to talk to the members. Now, this normally only comes up for people in more than one club, or occasionally past officers who are kind of really aware of DCP kind of things. Most members are going to want them to recognize, and if they don't ask you to submit it, and you're there one more, talk to them. Just like Nancy said, talk to them and say, do you realize you're eligible for an award now? We can submit it, you'll get recognition. And they probably will want that. Now, I'm not trying to dissuade you from submitting them. I'm trying to be sure you understand it's the member's choice, but you may need to coach them a little bit.
Thanks.
Other questions? Other questions? Yes, sir.
The HPL project, we talked about it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
If I am just finishing level 2, I've submitted it, can I go immediately and look at that HPL project and start on it? Or do I have to do it in order? I'm in presentation mastery.
Let me repeat your question. It's a valuable question. So you want to work on your HPL. It's a level 5 project. They're either required or electives, and you're not to level 5 yet. Can you work on it? I got 2 answers. This is a little muddy. I'm sorry, but it's a little bit muddy. If you go strictly by the book, you can't look at anything but you will not get access to anything except the project summary until you get to level 5. However, Toastmasters recently, this is from staff recently, did say, well, if you're going to work on your DTM project, we'll give you access to that level 4. That is, we'll give you access ahead of time. And even on the big projects, you can look at ahead of time. They don't give you any mechanism in Basecamp to do that. But you do have the summary. You do have the one-page project summary that'll give you a good start. So this is an area where I hope Toastmasters loosen things up. In the meantime, there's some workarounds that might occur to people that know someone else that's a little bit further along. I will also say that the HPL in Basecamp is quite similar to the one in the traditional program. They're not identical. They've rewritten it. It's in Pathways language now, and they've added more materials, more good material. But the HPL in Pathways is basically pretty much the same as the traditional one. You have to pick a non-trivial project. You have to have a guidance committee. You have to have an action team. It can't be a one-person job. It's a real leadership project. And the requirements for what you do, like 5 meetings with your committee members, is pretty much the same. So you can work around that one, even though they don't quite get what they want. I think we're coming to the end of the session here.
About 4 minutes left.